When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and we are on episode number 216 today. And as I've been saying, I love the weather. I'm really enjoying the holiday season. I think we all need this time to connect with family and slow down. And my favorite thing is just having conversations over food, breaking bread with people in our neighborhood and going to holiday parties and having some time just to spend with our loved ones and with our neighbors. It's just my favorite time of the year. We had some friends over yesterday and I asked them, what is your favorite holiday tradition? And it's always nice to hear what others' holiday traditions are because we've all been raised in different cultures and have different traditions and celebrate different types of holidays throughout this time of year. So I love to understand more. I actually, about 8 years ago, got to visit one of my clients during Hanukkah. And so I was able to celebrate Hanukkah with her and her family. And that was the first time that I ever really learned about the traditions of Hanukkah, the gifts and the food. And that was a lot of fun. And I think we need to expand our horizons a little bit and understand more about not only our traditions, but others' traditions. And we tend to be doing all the time. And today, Valerie Crafton is here, and she's here to slow us down a little bit because she's saying you can do more with less. And it's about getting visibility into the inside of your business. I love that if you're looking at the video on YouTube, you can see she has like an AI human handshake going on in the background. And she's saying it's really about this handshake of this data within your business. So if you feel like you're not organized and you're struggling with all of that, this is the right podcast for you because understanding the visibility of your business is really going to help you do more with less. And I love that because we think we always need more. We need more and we need more. And then COVID slowed everybody down to realize you don't. You can actually do so much more with less. So I'm so happy to have Valerie here today to help us understand that a little bit better. But before we get to Valerie, I do want to thank today's sponsor, Peaceful Living. Why let stress control your life, affecting your sleep and daily routines when you can find peace instead? We all experience stress, but what if you didn't have to suffer from it? Imagine feeling better, sleeping better, and changing the way you handle life's challenges. Wow, this was just very timely today. With the Peaceful Essentials Pass, you get unlimited access to Peaceful Living on-demand library and live stream classes so you can practice Pilates, yoga, and meditation anytime, whether at home, in your office, or even in a hotel room. With just a click of the button, you can turn any space into a peaceful retreat, releasing stress and restoring your energy. Peaceful Living offers simple, practical tools that fit seamlessly into your busy schedule. And as a podcast listener, you can get the Peaceful Essentials annual pass for only $49. That's a $50 savings. Check out the link in the show notes to bring more peace into your life today. All right. Well, we are thankful for that. My gosh, that's what we were just talking about today. So let's get to Valerie. And as the founder of ValC, she brings a wealth of experience and deep commitment to delivering innovative and effective solutions in the construction industry. Her career spans over 20 plus years, during which she has had the privilege of working with some of the most prominent names in the industry, including Google, Apple, Intel, and Microsoft. And what sets her apart is not only her technical proficiency, but also her hands-on experience across the entire project lifecycle, from initial design and planning to execution and continuous improvement. At ValC, her mission is to empower clients by providing tailored, data-driven solutions that enhance efficiency, reduce risks, risk, and drive continuous improvement. She believes in the power of collaboration and transparency and is dedicated to building long term partnerships based on trust, integrity, and mutual success. Val, welcome to today's show.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you here.
I'm
So,
so
the name of this podcast is Take the Leap, and we've all taken massive leaps. Everyone's heard my story of taking a leap out of corporate America and not really having a backup plan. And then it's like, okay, well, you got to figure out how to generate income and go to it. But I knew that's not where I wanted to be. So, talk to us about your leap that you've taken and really the successes that have resulted from that.
Yeah. So I'm going to be a little vulnerable here just because I'm trying to get better at that.
Love that.
I mean, I've been taking leaps my whole life. So taking a leap to start my consulting firm wasn't the biggest challenge I faced. I believe it's going to be one of my record-breaking successes that I've
Yeah.
taken. But that's because it was really a continuation of a lifelong journey shaped by really overcoming adversity. I grew up in humble beginnings, marked with homelessness, single parent household, uncertainty where my next meal was going to come from. And so these experiences really instilled in me a drive to achieve what often felt impossible. And so, as a teenage mother with no support system, I defied the odds. I putting myself through college while raising a child on my own, escaping domestic violence and rebuilding my life required resilience, determination, and unwavering belief in my own ability to create a better future. And then I'm entering into a male-dominated world of high-tech construction. I mean, I excelled in a space where I was often underestimated,
Mhm.
proving that expertise and perseverance can break barriers. So, starting my consulting firm was not just a leap of faith, it was the culmination of these experiences. It gave me a platform to leverage my hard earned knowledge to drive
Mhm.
meaningful change in the construction and high tech industries. And it really allowed me to start giving back to my community. I mean, every challenge I face has prepared me for this journey. And I am totally committed to empowering others to realize their full potential as well.
I love that. And, many of the listeners have heard the challenges that I've had and faced the same. I feel like we were cut from the same cloth. And people ask me all the time, Val, like, where did this drive that you have to succeed, to be the best, to really just get out there and never give up. And I do think it comes from that past that we share and that resilience that we have we, that we possess based on our circumstances. Because when you have a child as a single mother, you there's just no other uh there's no other choice but to protect that human. And so we just build the resiliency, and then little by little, the more resiliency you build, that drive continues to build. And then here we are today, with this success that you're building because of that resiliency that was built years and years and years ago. So, as many people would see that as a curse and some that become victims, we see that as a blessing that really paved that path for us.
Yeah, it really developed the grit that I have today. No excuse, and the belief in the impossible. So when nothing fires me up more than to someone tell me it's impossible. And
Yeah.
for me, that just means you haven't figured it out yet, and I will.
Yeah. And everything's figure outable, right? We can figure
Yes.
it out at some point, and we might not know the answers today. So when we're talking about getting visibility into our business, explain to me what that looks like when you're working with a client. So if you're helping them get visibility, what are kind of some of the things that you're looking at in their business, or just explain a client that you work with?
Well, it would be better if I just tell you maybe a couple of real stories, I
Love
think.
it. The real
Yeah.
stories are the best.
I know, right? So, in one example I had, well, first, just like from a small perspective, a lot of times when I first entered into the industry, you're new. You're standing there amongst all of these SMEs, these experts who have been doing it for a very, very long time. So you're not about to question them. You're brand new. So I sat there and I listened, and I was being told what I was looking at was a duck. Look, it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it's a duck. And I, brand new, didn't really want to question it right out the gate, but I didn't see a duck. I saw an
Mm,
octopus. I saw an octopus that was solid, strong, smart, but it had a lot of arms. Everything was disorganized, nothing worked together, and a lot of things functioned in silos. So you needed something to create structure
mm,
and control amongst that to ensure that everything started flowing together. And so I started asking people, hey, what do you am I if what I was seeing was a little was nuts. Like, am I crazy? Because everybody keeps calling it a duck, and I'm not seeing that. And they're like, "Oh, you don't question leadership. This is how we've always done it,
mm.
right?" Like the lack of flexible thinking, the it works, so don't change it. It's like, but what? But we could do it so much smarter and so much better and so much
Mhm,
faster with with less people's time. And people get scared of change. And
mhm,
someone who's overcome so much diversity and adversity. I mean, I have to say that I don't think that it's impossible that for us to just create. We're constantly changing from the day we're born, and if
mhm,
we can embrace a growth mindset, a
mhm,
lot can happen. A lot can happen. So I say that to preface to say, hey, I have a senior executive, and I've never been shy about challenging. Once I got my After getting in there and getting validated by some of those stories, I started challenging and pushing back and asking, what is that based on? What are these comments based on? Because what I was finding is people with the biggest political pull or the loudest voice in the room got all of the resource and attention to their problem, but it wasn't based on any data, or they didn't have anything to back it up, or anything like that. So I would ask them, hey, what is that based on? And they wouldn't have an answer. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I have done some initial case studies over this exact solution, and here's my data
mhm,
that says actually quite the opposite. Um, so I had an executive leader who was like, "Hey, the schedule's the problem. The schedule's the problem." And I'm like, "Really? Are you sure the schedule's the problem? Because that's more like the impact of your problem. It's
mhm,
not really I wouldn't think that was the root cause of the problem. Then why do we have an entire team, a project manager, saying that the schedule was a problem and we're 2 years late?" I was like, "I will be happy to go check on that for you." So going in and taking a look, I immediately realized that this same team who said schedule was the problem did not even realize that had identified the root causes in the first 3 months of the
mhm,
problem. And then they no longer looked at it again, and
mhm,
they started firefighting. And instead of taking the time to understand why they were firefighting, they just moved on to the next emergency rather than
mm.
looking back and seeing, how can we learn?
Yeah.
What did we learn? What happened? What should have happened? And what was the mitigation? And how do we make sure this gets back and never happens again? That's not what was happening in the industry. Is you have these project controls, and the data is not organized in a way to give you the visibility to understand what's actually happening. Why are you having
Mhm,
cost overruns? Why are you having schedule overruns? What is actually happening? So getting that visibility, whether no matter what your business is your data organized in a way it tells you a trend to what's happening. So that goes back to categorizing every time a cost is higher than you anticipated.
mhm,
Going back to, really identifying what are those risks, and then checking in on those risks and categorizing those risks so you can start seeing which one of those are having the biggest impact on my business and are in my control so I can actually change it.
yeah.
And really getting down below the surface to the root cause.
Yeah, I'm going back to one of the things you said about we've always done it this way. And that's such a shallow way of thinking. And I've asked questions a lot like, why do we do it this way? I remember just working with admins, in a company I was in. And I would say, well, why do we do the process this way? Why? It just seems like there's 18 steps and it should be two and nothing's automated. So why do we do it this way? Well, because that's just the way I was taught. Okay. So How do you think, I love to challenge other people. How do you think, because you do this job every day, how do you think we could change this? What do you think some shortcuts could be, or automations could be, or what's taking you time? And, somewhere, sometimes, and I don't know if we want to talk about this, Valerie, maybe it's just a comment I make, but I find that people don't want to change the way they do things because then they don't feel like they'd have something to do, because then it becomes so automated. And I've heard that from people that work for me. Well, if I don't do that, then what will I do? It's like, oh, I have plenty of other things that need to get done, but I don't need your man hours working on something I can automate and or hire out and have an outside team work on this, that's their expertise, when I have some other things that I feel like are better suited for your skill sets.
Well, it's interesting if you, and that's why so many folks are scared of AI. They're
Mm-hmm.
afraid that it's going to replace their job. And what's funny is we've had AI
I
around
want it
since.
to replace my job. Is anyone else raising their hand saying, I want it to replace? I want it to do everything that I do in a full day. That would be amazing.
Well, what's great about technology is once we've developed technology,
Yeah.
new jobs arise.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to just be in control of, am I educating myself? Am I upskilling myself? Don't let someone else do that for you. You need to drive what that looks like. Back once upon a time in the United States, farming, right, was the
Mm-hmm.
number one job you can have. And then new technology came out and they didn't need as many hands on deck to get the farming done.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, what happened? We've produced millions of jobs since then out of the fact that this new
Yeah.
technology rose. So now we have manufacturing and people handling all of this stuff to support that technology. And we have more food than we can ever ask for. It was because
Mm-hmm.
we got less farmers. The farmers became more productive and were able to do more with less.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then new jobs rose out of that. So you're not going to have your job replaced. And frankly, AI doesn't replace the human. It's the combination of the two that actually make it work. You can't have one work without the other.
I'll give you an example. There are ag drones now being used that spray a lot of agriculture, right? So fields. Well, remember back in the day, those used to be planes that were flown by a pilot that would spray. Well, now we have Amazon deliveries. And if any of you have ever visited, let's just say Skagway, Alaska, many people live on islands that Amazon doesn't get to. So now these pilots are flying Amazon deliveries. That's their job. They're hired to fly Amazon deliveries, and hot water heaters and all the other things that you can't get to an island in their plane. So evolution, right? Like, we didn't have all those deliveries coming before like we used to, and now instead of flying the ag planes, they need to do package deliveries or whatever it may be. So it's evolution. And I think that most people, and I'm glad you brought up AI. We haven't talked a lot about that on this show. And AI is something that is integrated to assist you in getting things done faster, and more streamlined. And there's a lot of automation that's included in that. And I say embrace it, because think of what it would be like today if there were still no cell phones and you only had a home phone, and the only way anyone could get in touch with you was the home phone, or your work phone physically, because you had to be at a workspace. Imagine all the conversations we would miss out on. Imagine all the things that we do on our phone that we're able to be so quick and efficient, having our phones with us on a regular basis, that we would have to wait to do all of that.
All the jobs that were created because that development technology came
Mm-hmm.
out. So, I mean, it's not something to be scared. If you have a process that is repetitive,
Mm-hmm.
then AI is the answer, right? But you still have it's like regular reports that come out that AI can do for you. You still need a human because
Mm-hmm.
it's at the end of the day, it's AI, ML. Who cares? What is your problem you're trying to solve? Start with that. What is the problem you're trying to solve? Don't try to put a technology and try to say, hey, where can I fit this? Understand what the problem you're trying to solve, because at the end of the day, if you can get in and you can organize your data in a way it goes back to the machine learn. Whatever data you're putting into the machine, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
learn from it. And then output AI then automates and gives you the feedback that you need. Those, whether that's taking a thing that humans aren't really great at, which is sorting through and analyzing a ton of data. So if I can take all of this data and do a quick analysis within minutes, which would have taken a human weeks to
Mm-hmm.
do, now I've got more visibility into my business. But
Mm-hmm.
you've got to make sure you organize your data so the machine is learning the stuff, the good stuff, because it could easily give you a false sense of security if you don't start from what problem am I solving? How am I going to organize my data to ensure that the information I'm feeding it is clean data? And
Mm-hmm.
that way, what comes out is real actionable visibility to improve my business or see where I'm losing money or where I can gain opportunities or gain back lost opportunities for that matter.
I'm sure you have a story most recent of a client that you've worked with, or a company. You've worked with some really big companies, Amazon and Google and several other. Uh, what give me an example of a true story of you working with or inside of someone's business and organizing their data and it like changing processes or the way that they do things, or there was like this aha moment. It is so crucial to not fall into the trap of we've always done it this way and really understand like what is my outcome and then go kind of all the way back down to the layers to the source. Give us an example of a good story. You've got to have one that just stands out, I'm sure.
Oh my goodness, I do have a lot of stories. So if it depends on your business, you have, a lot of different teams doing different parts of the business. And so there's a level of cross-functional alignment that has to happen. And most businesses, when they start off, works really, really well when they're small
Mhm.
and everybody knows what to do. And you probably don't even need a standard operating procedure to make sure everyone's doing what they need to do because the team is small. Everybody communicates and coordinates. But what happens to a successful business is they grow very, very, very fast. And what happens when they grow very fast, they go from, hundreds of thousands to hundreds of $1 million. And guess what didn't happen in between is they didn't develop um, those standard operating procedures and the data tracking and all those things.
Mm.
So one of the things I come in and do is I'll go in and I'll do an analysis of your project controls. Like what's going on? Where are the opportunities to automate? Where are the redundancies? Where do you have two people doing the same thing?
Mhm.
Where can we take this and centralize it into one point
Mhm.
and then we can categorize it in a way that gives you the visibility to know, okay, I actually am creating bottlenecks for my business now instead of how do I make sure that, oh, let's open up the flow and let's get rid of these steps. Let's get lean processes in place and do
Mm.
more with less. And being able to organize the data, say, hey, what are the lessons learned database is really what I'm talking about. What are the lessons learned database that we're feeding back into it? Building an app so that folks who aren't necessarily in front of a computer all the time, like maybe your BD people, you have a Salesforce, but then they put notes in there. But does everybody who needs to know about that in your business getting access to it? No, you can feed that data into a centralized database and categorize it, automate it so that everybody in the business who needs to know automatically gets that feedback from your customers.
Mm.
It's not too late. And next thing you know, you're getting pulled in because you're doing a firefighting moment. So
Mhm.
I would say that's one of the biggest things that happens. And that's a high level story that I've attacked so many times. Um, is that fast growth, right? I don't understand what my customer's doing. We're being very reactive. How can I move to a proactive approach? You have to start getting it into a
Yeah.
database, categorizing it, and then getting those automations in place. So I utilize, and I'm actually a technology integrator and partner with Smartsheet, and we actually use that to build from scratch something that fits the business
Mm.
instead of trying to create off the shelf and trying to pay a bunch of money to reconfigure it to make it fit you. So that's why I partnered with them because I think every business is different, just like every human is different. And
Mhm.
it allows you to quickly analyze the data. So what happens is you get the data in there and then you can just ask AI the question, what are my top risks with my biggest impacts? And it'll pull out what my top risks are, my biggest, who is having the biggest risk with customer. Boom, done within thousands and thousands of pieces of data. And
Wow.
okay, so now I can start digging in and pull in some people. Let's talk about this particular person. I don't need to wait for something major to happen. Or
Right.
this customer calls me up one day and says, I am no longer doing business with you. You're like, what's going on? You need to have the visibility way before that phone call
Yeah.
comes. So you can start putting in those red flags and start really seeing things. And when that happens, then your customers see you creating continuous improvement and wanting to be better for them, which makes them better.
Sure.
So it's a high level because a lot of my customers are confidential. and so I can't be too specific, but yeah, that is a big thing for sure.
That was a huge look behind the curtain and how the data is brought together for them to analyze that. And I agree. I'm sure any company that scales very quickly, then at that point doesn't have the time to go back to figure out what do I do to become proactive? Someone please help me analyze this data to understand it. And that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure that happens in every
They pay
business.
consulting, big consulting firms to come in and do these full analysis, a lot of money. And if you could just build it into the fabric of your culture where everyone's sharing and you have those automations and you're categorizing that data, you can get some pretty quick live feedback. And you don't
Yeah.
need to suddenly find yourself in a situation where I'm paying, hundreds of thousands of dollars for someone to come in here and say, fix my business, please. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm successful, but I'm falling apart now because I've gotten too big too fast.
Too fast, yeah. Well, Valerie, that's been amazing information. Thank you for sharing that with the listeners and with me. And how do we connect with you? What are the best places? What are the best platforms for someone to connect with you directly?
Definitely on LinkedIn, for sure. So
Great.
that's probably the number one. I'm also a certified women-owned business, so I'm always at the WeBank West events and supporting NABO and LEAP, of course. And so I'm at those events as well, and really focusing a lot on the high tech market. So you'll find me at a lot of the 7x24 events for data centers and and AFCOM events and iMasons, which is women in mission critical industries. So that's
Wonderful.
me. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we have all of her links below. So you can reach out to Valerie directly and connect with her on our website and through LinkedIn. And Valerie, I just want to thank you so much for being here today. There's so much learning from today's episode of really understanding the data, how to organize it, and doing it before you get too big. Because once you do, then it's like we've been reactive for too long. We need to be proactive, and that's how you lose customers. So I'm so thankful that you were here to explain all that. And I want to remind all of our listeners out there, you're the only you that's ever been. You're the only you that's ever going to be. So you might not have all the answers. That's why there's experts like Valerie out there that can assist you in helping you understand what the fabric of that is to organize that within your business. And just because you don't know how to do it doesn't mean you're not a great business owner, because you are. Our expertise is way different, each one of us, in owning our own business. So it pays to take a leap, as you heard again today. Another story of someone who took the leap and how she's now assisting so many businesses in the construction industry in understanding how to create those data-driven solutions. So thank you, Valerie, for being on our show.
Yeah.
And until next time, all of you have a wonderful holiday, and we will see you next time. Until then, don't forget, be you and be strong. Bye-bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed our show today, as our guests shared their secrets on designing their life by taking the necessary leaps to expand their influence and attract the right people and clients into their lives. To start these easy steps for yourself, be sure to visit www.colleenbiggs.net/freebies to download the 7 ways to increase your exposure today.